how to know if love wants to separate, or how to know what love deeply wants. A couple of things jump out at me when I think about this. So when I read these questions, it's not like, oh, here's the answer that I have on a shelf of all the answers in the universe. It's not how I create. How I be with this is I read the question and I imagine that I am meeting that question myself, and I'm finding out what comes up with me when I ask myself that question as to how I might meet that same inquiry myself. And I don't have a pre-designed answer, a pre-designated answer. I don't have a ready answer. I have no idea what's going to come until I'm with it here with you in this video and in this inquiry. So as I read it, what comes to me is two things. The first is the idea that love wants to separate. I'm like, that feels like a bit, does not compute with me. And the second thing is how to know what love wants. Another way of saying that is how to know what love knows, right? So that's a little confusing as well. So let's take these one at a time. The first one, how to know when love wants to separate. My experience is that love doesn't ever want to separate, but that doesn't mean that love doesn't make the act of cutting things and separating. But it's not the separation that love wants. For me, love, the experience of love, being guided by love, having a love, it is the experience of wholeness, often of union, of coming together. When I experience the breaking apart of things, I feel the backside of love, which is hurt. Yeah, it's an inversion of love. It's still love, but in a different flavor. But the love that we genuinely mean, like that love, that warm, all-abiding love, is the love of union. But still, at a deeper level, love as a guiding principle, I still don't think love as a guiding principle, whilst it utilizing separation sometimes in its act towards whatever its aim is, its aim isn't the separation itself. Sometimes love separates as a means to love's end, which is love, which is creation. And so for me, love is the force that drives all creation, as a guiding principle. And oftentimes that looks like the kind of love that we ascribe to the word mostly, which is a comforting, warm, the experience of union, a positive, pleasurable feeling. But love also kills. Love also destroys. Love also takes. Love cuts, right? I mean, what's that thing? The multiple uses of a knife, right? You can use it to take a life, to save a life, and I don't know, open a letter. Maybe there's probably more than 2-3 things, but. So love in that same way can be used to destroy, but when it's being used to destroy, its intent, I still believe, is to create. And so all action is in service of creation in the way that I relate to the universe, to love, to creation itself. And so then, let's take the question that way. When does love want to separate? Love doesn't want to separate, but love will sometimes know that it's true for love to separate, when that separation is in service of the creation of something more beautiful. For me, I use the idea of beauty as the trajectory that love points towards. It's not just about obviously physical or even sensory beauty. It's a name that captures the feeling that I feel I'm in touch with when I'm aimed in the direction of something where there is love guiding me, right? It's the thing on the horizon I call beautiful. When I'm oriented to it, I experience love, whatever that is. It could be a possibility. It could be a type of conversation. It could be something visual. It could be a sunset. It could be a person. It could be an amount of money. It could be a pencil and the way that the tip of it is carved and the beautiful point that it comes. It could be anything where there's beauty and I feel it in my heart and love is guiding me towards that. That's what I mean. So, but the other piece here is how to know what love deeply wants. How to know what love knows. How to know if what I am thinking or feeling about what I want is love calling me and guiding me and not my ego or not fear. See, the question is a trap. How do I know if this is love that is what is wanting this thing and not my fear, not my ego? The question's a trap because what it does is it says that you have to take this capacity to know that you have an embodied experience of, which is typically some kind of reason that you have, some way of figuring things out that you then use as the catch-all phrase, knowing. Oh, I know it when it seems right to me through the way that I use my mind. And how do I use that apparatus and that thing that I have familiar experience with, what I call knowing, to know that what love desires is the right thing or true thing, or that is actually an expression of love. But the reason it's a trap is because love, the experience of love, is a kind of knowing in and of itself. And so you can't use the kind of knowing that you usually use to know things to know when something that you love is the thing that you love, because then you're not really allowing love to guide you. You're using your other process of knowing, your rational knowing, your like intellectual knowing, whatever it is, to then validate the knowing of love. And so the reason that I think this question comes up for a lot of people is because when they start to feel into the possibility that love itself knows, it's scary. It's an edgy thing, because you got to be able to make a decision and take action in the world by surrendering to a different quality of knowing on the inside. You have to know something in a way that you have hereto defined not as knowing. That's not what knowing is inside me. For me, inside knowing was this other thing that I've been doing my whole life through conversation, internal dialogue, pros and cons, figuring out, right? Asking myself the question, is this the right thing? Whatever it is. But when you know through love, there isn't that dialogue. There's just a sense that when you're oriented towards that possibility in your imagination, in your mind, there's a welling up in your heart of that experience of love, or there's some kind of is an experience. However you experience what love is, that's active when you're oriented towards that possibility. And that's it. So how do you know if that's the thing? Well, then now you're just pulling yourself back out of the experience of knowing through love into some other experience of knowing or idea of knowing that you're trying to map onto that. It's just going to make a mess. So love doesn't want to separate. Sometimes it uses separation as a means of creation. And how to know if what I want is love's wanting, how do I know if I'm being guided by love, is actually a way of distancing yourself from the knowing that is love. That's it. Thanks for the question. Thank you for watching and listening and sharing. I love you, and I'll talk to you soon.